Hey guys, welcome back. And for today's video, we're going to discuss about styles. So now, without any further ado, let's get started. To start with, we're going to apply a theme provider in our code. Our objective here is we're going to create a dark mode theme. The usual, if you've seen some dark mode themes with different website, in Material UI, you can also do that. So let's start. In our code, head to our app.js. All right. And from our app.js, we're going to import some of the package available in Material UI. So let's start with import. So the first one is going to import the theme provider. Okay. So we're going to get that from the available package from Material UI. Okay. So since we're dealing with style, we're going to get that from the material styles package. Now, aside from the theme provider, we're going to also export the function create theme. Okay. Also, at this point, I'll be using one of the functions from React, and that function is what we call the create context. Okay, so what it does, this will serve as our dynamic function so that we can pass on this function globally to our React code. Okay, so next to that is we're going to import also the use state. So what it does is we're going to apply a toggle function so that it will be this will serve as our trigger point when we trigger our or assign or set up our toggle declaration in React. So let's start. In our within our function, we're going to create a variable, and I'm going to name that with the following. So the first one is the dark, and the second one is the set dark. Okay, so with this, I'm going to assign that in our use state and with the default value of false. Okay, so from here as well, I'm going to create a function. This will serve as the toggle or the toggle bar for the mode. So since we're going to perform a dark and a normal mode, so we're going to create a function that will be available once triggered the handle mode function. So let's start with like this one. So, okay, so from here, so maybe let's make it more precise. So let's name that as dark mode. Oops. Okay, so we're going to okay. Okay, from this section here, we're going to assign a not statement here for the dark. So this will serve if example, if the statement is true, this will reverse to false. And if the statement is false, it will reverse to true. So that's how our function will perform. Next. the next thing we need to do now is we need to apply the function in creating a themes. So to do that, I'm going to create a variable that, okay, this will be our global variable. So from here, I'm going to call the create themes. So themes will provide the function to apply the design for the template. So to do that, let's create our theme. And for the props or properties, we're going to apply the what we call the palette. And for our palette, we have two modes. So the first one, okay, so we can consider this as the dark. If dark, okay, if the use state returns a positive dark, so we're going to return the dark palette or the dark mode. Else, going to return a light mode. All right, let's save that. Okay, so sorry, need to remove that. Okay, cool. So after this one, the next thing we need to do now is we need to wrap our context provider. So, okay. So since we call this our context provider, so which means our declaration here will be called globally. So to apply these properties to the entire code, we need to apply a context declaration. So to do that, let's start by declaring here. So let's call for export const. So I'm going to name that as context. Oops. Then from our context, I'm going to call our property function, create context. And inside this context here, we're going to pass the value as false. All right. So now that we have our context, so let's apply that to our main. So right now we have our main. So this is our main. So to call that, we need to wrap our context. So let's call our provider. Okay. And our props here, we're going to pass our function handle mode. All right. So let's wrap that to our main page here. Okay, good. So let's check everything. So, okay, now that we pass our global, okay, we're passing this global context from here. So next, we're going to wrap now our theme. So to do that, we're going to call our functions theme provider. Okay, and for the theme, so this is our theme. Oops. I'm going to call our theme. Yep. So that's the one. And I'm going to wrap that within this body page here. So this, okay, let's save that. Let's see if we forget something. Okay, cool. So I think everything's okay now. Okay, good. So what we did now is those things that we declared a while ago. First, we create this context variable here so that this will be available globally. Now, next, we need to wrap up with the theme provider. So this applies the theme that we provide for, or this available themes functions to trigger the format that you like. But in our case, we only create themes for our palette mode. So what it does is once the toggle mode is in dark mode, it will display in dark mode. Else, it will reverse to the light mode. All right. Now that we're finished with our setup in our application, the next thing we need to do now is we need to install another package, wherein this package is also under Material UI. And for that package is we're going to apply that in our styles. So head back to your code. So just install this package. So let's type npm install Mui Style. Now, okay, just hit enter. Now there are some cases if you are running this package, there are errors, what we call this version issue, because right now I'm running Material UI, or sorry, I'm running React version 18. So at this point here, if you encounter an error during installation, just indicate the pores, like this one. So if we encounter like this one, okay, because this is due to the conflict that we're using React version 18. I think this only happens in 18. So to fix that problem, just do the same, and then we're going to apply either pores or this legacy pair depths. So in my case, I'm going to copy this legacy. Okay, so either one of these command here, it's okay. So just make sure that you, okay, let's make it a little upper here. Okay, so good. These are clear now. Okay, let me explain again. In version 18, this Mui style seems there's a conflict. So if you encounter like this type of error, if you're working with React 18, so just apply the Pores installation. So it's either you can use this Pores or the legacy per dips or peer depths. Okay, so just place that at the end after the installation, then hit enter. So this will solve all your problem. So still, this works the same. So just follow along, and I think that should solve all your problems. All right. So right now, our package style is installed. So next, we're going to call our package or this Mui style in our code. So to apply that, let's head back to our main.js. Okay, maybe somewhere here. So I can remove this one. I think we don't need this. Let me check. Oh, yeah, okay. So we can remove this typography. Okay. So now that we have already import or installed our Mui styles, the next thing we need to do now is we need to import that style. So from here, I'm going to call the make styles. So this is under Mui styles. Okay, just to make sure. Okay. So from our from our declaration, we're going to apply that in or pass that to a function. That function, so I'm going to call that or apply that in use style. And then let's call the make styles. Okay, let's do it like this way. Then from here, going to apply the theme. All right. Okay, there's a theme. So going to wrap that. Okay, so like this one. And we're going to apply this property props offset. And we're going to call the theme that mix in. So mix in that toolbar. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're applying the properties theme mixing toolbar. Now this style, for the style, we're going to call that in our function. And from here, inside this main function here, we're going to call that and assign that to classes. All right, and then we're going to call that function. So use style. Okay, so now that we apply or pass that to our function, we're going to copy that. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to copy these classes. That's single S, too much S. Okay, so I'm going to copy these classes and we're going to apply that within our here. Maybe should be after up bar. Okay. Okay, here. So in between this up bar and this box. So we're going to apply that properties. So to do that, let's apply that in a div tag. Okay, then we're going to call these classes. So let's call the offset. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So that's done. Now, on the next setup, what we're planning to do is within our this header bar here, I'm going to apply a switch button from here, and then that button, once I click that, it will turn this whole page into dark mode, and once I click it again, it will reverse back to the normal mode or the light mode. Okay? To apply that, we need to apply that in this component here. So this where we set up our responsive drawer. So let's head back to our code and go to our layouts. And from our layouts, okay, so this is where we're going to apply those things. But first, I need to call first the component. So I'm going to import this component. So let's call the switch. Okay, so let's call the switch component from material UI. And then I'm going to import the use context. So use context. Okay. So we already declared this in React, but right now we're going to use that again. And also going to import one more. I'm going to call this context. Okay. So our context is the context from our app main declaration. So this is the global function that we create in here, if you recall, this one. So that's why it's still available because we declare this as a global variables. So now we'll be using that also in here. All right. So let's apply that. So in between or under the header navbar, let's call that. So let's call the let. Okay, I'm going to apply the let function here, let declaration. I'm going to extract the handle mode. Okay. So I'm going to extract the function in use context. Okay. So now what we do here is we extract this function. So if you recall this handle mode, we declare that in app.js. All right. So we're going to capture this one and we're forward that globally to our header node. Now, to apply this function, I need to add the switch component. So I'm going to copy the switch component and I'm going to apply that maybe here. So somewhere here. So from here, I'm going to call the switch component. So on our switch component, I'm going to apply this props property function. Okay. And from here, going to call the function handle mode. All right. So let's check again. Yeah. So I think that's the one. And then from here, so let's say, okay, I'm going to add a label. Let's apply the label. I'm going to call this as dark mode. And we're going to close that component. So let's see. Now, once you're done here, let's head back to our code. Okay, there you go. So right now we apply this one. So let's try our code if it is work. So let's click this one. And there you go. Cool. Nice. Okay, so this is how you work with theme template. So if you're working with your template, so this is a very nice feature in Material UI. So let's fix that more. So I'm going to replace this as my website. Okay, so cool. Yeah. So next, okay, I think I want to customize this header here. I want to move that toggle button instead from this side. I want to move this one in this section here, in this corner. So to do that, we need to fix the display of this toolbar here. So let's continue with our code. So to do that, let's fix some of the position. Okay, so to fix that, let's fix that in here. So under the header, as you can see, this section, this last typography component, we set up this to wrap. Now, I want this to extend this display. So to do that, let's say I'm going to call this breaking point. And then with this breaking point here, I'm going to apply these property props flex, and then this property flex are we're going to call this flex grow, and I'm going to set this as 1. Okay, I think yeah. So I think only that, so that once it will display, this will stretch, this main website will stretch its own. So if we see in our browser, and there you go. Cool. So let's extend that. Nice. So yeah, so I think that works. Okay, cool. So this is one of the coolest thing when it comes to the theme. So it will apply to all components that you are working with. So this is the beautiness of the material UI. All right. So that's it, guys. Now that we learned how to style our component, on the next topic, we'll be discussing more on the each components in Material UI. So if you like this video, please subscribe. And if you found this interesting, please like and share. And see you guys on the next video series. Cheers.